the developers of Void Linux are censoring screenshots of Void Linux if those screenshots are doing the unspeakable crime of using XLibre as their X server. Oh, the travesty, the humanity of it all. So this is all happening over on the r/Void Linux subreddit. Here you can see a post, screenshot of the post if you're watching the video version. XLibre running on Void, smiley face, and then here's the screenshot, and that got deleted. You can see right below it, sorry, big old, circle with a line through it. This post has been removed by the moderators of r/Void Linux. Now, before a whole bunch of you chime in by saying, well, that's just a subreddit. That's not the project. That's not the people behind Void Linux. That's just some random people on the internet. Nope. In terms of Void Linux, the subreddit is moderated, at least in large part, by developers of Void Linux. In fact, if you go to voidlinux.org, they link to the very, very official subreddit right from voidlinux.org, and they themselves moderate the whole gosh darn thing. So this is their official stance on it. Now, XLibre doesn't have official packaging for Void Linux at this point. Is provided by a third-party support by another developer by the name of Rotary Boot 58. That's his username over on Codeberg, I believe it is. And he provides XLibre packages for Void Linux. And here, just so you can see it, here is the screenshot that was deleted. This is the censored offending screenshot. Again, if you're watching the video version, you get that. If you're listening to the audio version, you can go see this picture over on my X account. Go find Lunduke Journal on X, and I posted this picture for everyone. And you can see there's nothing weird about it, right? There's no swearing, there's no violence, there's no religious or political content, there's no adult content. It's just a picture of XFCE with a little XFCE themed wallpaper with a terminal open. And it happens to be running XLibre. It just happens to be running XLibre. There's nothing overtly political about any of this, but it's still got censored. And this is truly peculiar to me that certain Linux distributions are taking this stance. We've covered a few of them in the past that have decided to not just not use one package or another, but to decidedly not use them for what appear to be political stances. Now, in this case, there was no real reason given why the screenshot was removed. So the person who posted the screenshot made another post on Void Linux that said, hey, I'm paraphrasing here, why did I just get moderated for posting a screenshot of the Linux distro that this is the subreddit for the Linux distro in question? Why did that happen? That post also got deleted. It appears, and we don't really know why, but it appears that anything related to XLibre just gets auto-deleted. Well, not auto-deleted, but, pretty quickly deleted by the developers of Void Linux. Bizarre. And this isn't the first time that we've seen the Void Linux developers just take an intense emotional reaction and just be almost vehemently opposed to pieces of free software, and for what appear to be maybe political or personal reasons. They did this also with Hyprland. The developer of Hyprland took to X some time back and pointed out that the Void developers at one point said that they couldn't package Hyprland for Void Linux because of an issue relating to WL roots, another package. To which the Hyprland developer said, okay, and removed that package, WL roots, as a dependency entirely. So great, I've removed that problem for you, problem solved. Now you can put Hyprland on Void Linux. To which the Void Linux developers replied, and this is the developer of Hyprland paraphrasing here, well, now we have to find a new reason to hate on Hyprland. I swear to God, the entire distro and its community are a meme. Someone posted in the again in the Void Linux subreddit, Hyprland support in the future. I heard the devs wouldn't package Hyprland because of it using an unstable versions of WL roots. Hyprland broke away from WL roots recently, so is there any talk of it being being added to official repos? To which people responded, no, and then another person responded, Hyprland author is a beep. Wow. And of course, the Hyprland developer responded, quote, the Void developers hate me personally and have refused to package Hyprland because of it. They made an entire wall of imaginary issues with my software just to have something to say. And you know, this certainly does seem to be the case. It is truly bizarre that the Void Linux contributors and developers do seem to be taking very strong personal and political stances about what software they will or won't include, even going so far as to now saying what software they will allow people to even talk about or screenshot. It's bizarre. It's truly, truly bizarre that they would go this far. But I mean, we're seeing this increasingly with so many distributions where they are taking firm political stances against pieces of software. Wild. In the end, it just seems like the only result of that is a dividing line with one group of software on one side and one group of software on the other side, and the software that's over here won't touch any of the software that's over there. But the software that's over on the other side will go, yeah, we'll just include any software. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be some distributions that are going to be artificially limited in what software they can run, right? Like if you want to run Void Linux, well, you're not going to run XLibre. If you're not going to run Hyprland, you're not going to run this, you're not going to run that. And not for technical reasons, but personal reasons or political reasons. The same sort of thing is happening over like in Fedora. Fedora is saying that they will not support XLibre. In fact, they're digging in their heels about it. Why? Well, it's really political. I mean, the people have come up with some kind of flimsy organizational reasons, but most of the arguments that have occurred around whether or not to include XLibre and Fedora boiled down to political arguments. And so what that means is if you as a Fedora user say, okay, I'm using Fedora on my laptop and my workstations and all that, I now have less access to software. I have less choice about what software to run. It's fascinating. So software that is aligned with one particular political ideology will have access to less software. I wonder how much they're actually thinking this through. I wonder how well the Void Linux and Fedora Linux and all the other Linux distributions that have been taking these firm political stands, I wonder how much they're actually thinking through the results of their strange political protests. And I want to draw a real distinct line here, a real distinct comparison. I've talked a lot about non-woke free software, non-woke open source software, right? Where I've pointed out certain Linux distributions and web browsers and the like that are not woke, right? Where they're distinctly not pursuing DEI things, where they're embracing meritocracy and those sorts of things. But you'll notice what we're not doing, what those various non-woke distros are not doing is declaring that they won't use software because someone else is a Democrat or is a left-leaning political person, right? They're not saying that. They're just saying that we're leaning this way and we ourselves are of a particular political ideology, or we're just not political at all, which is more often the case. So like, for example, if you want to use a non-woke distro like let's say OpenMandriva. I love OpenMandriva. OpenMandriva, Omarchi, Ghost BSD, lots of great Linux and BSD distributions out there are decidedly non-woke. But all of the software is available to you on those on those systems. In fact, Wayland is arguably one of the more woke-ish pieces of software out there. Well, no, though these distributions are fine with people using Wayland. We'll officially package Wayland. It's no big deal. You want to use Wayland with Open Mandriva or Omarchy? Great. Use Wayland. In fact, maybe they'll even use it by default. And yet, so those are the non-woke, so the centrist, non-political, or right-leaning distributions are packaging whatever. And so they have maximum software choice. You as a user get the maximum amount of software choice. The left-leaning distributions, and I'm assuming Void Linux is left-leaning here because it seems like it. I know Fedora Linux is, though, so we'll talk about that right now. So Fedora Linux is a left-leaning distribution, and because it's a left-leaning distribution, you have less software choice because they make a firm stance where they say, we won't use fascist Nazi software. It's crazy. They'll just call people names and refuse to allow the packages into their project. It's wild. It's wild. The people that end up hurting in the long run are just the users of that software. Because let's be honest, Fedora is a quality piece of software. I have some issues with certain design choices that the Fedora project has taken, but overall, it's a quality Linux distribution that's done a lot of good overall for the world of open source and free software. And if someone said to me, hey, I love Fedora Linux, I love using it, I'd say, yeah, I see why. But the people who then love it, they're the ones that hurt in this, because then they don't get to use the most up-to-date open source X server, which is currently XLibre. So, and that's a political choice rather than a technological choice or an end user usability choice. It's fascinating that they're going down this road. And that when you see projects like Void Linux even take it a step further and say, you know what, not only are we not going to provide the software, we're going to censor anyone who is happily running the software. Wild. Absolutely wild. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making this sort of coverage possible, because you're not going to get it on any other platform, on any other news outlet. They're not going to cover any of this stuff. And I really appreciate all the subscribers, free, paid, or otherwise. Go to lunduke.com and click on all of those amazing links. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.